Okay, and so the next question is, the vaccines were produced in a rush, have not had time to be properly tested, so I'm not sure if they're safe.
I love that question because um, the technology that gave us these vaccines is actually not new. Um, this is technology that's existed for a couple of decades now. Now, what had happened during COVID is that because all other researchers stopped what they were doing and came together in an unprecedented way to work together and make this vaccine, that they were able to stabilize the substances that give you the immunity. And so we were able to actually get this in a short amount of time because everybody was working together and we were building upon technology that had already been tested with other diseases. So it's one of those myths that's out there. In fact, it's looked at as a thing of worry, but it's actually a thing I think to be celebrated. It's one of the greatest advancements that we've seen in modern medicine, in certainly in this century. So it's a pretty amazing thing that it was done in a short time. And as a participant in a vaccine trial, I can say from my own personal experience, I thought that the trials were conducted very well, very rigorously. I was asked about all of my side effects on a regular basis. I still am. I have to tick a box every week that says whether I have symptoms or not. I have to report effects. When I got COVID, I had to send them my swab. So they're following up on things. These companies do not take this lightly. It was they in a short amount of time, they were able to enroll tens of thousands of people because we're in the middle of a pandemic and lots of people had COVID and were willing to sign up for trials. So it's one of those things where certainly it can look worrisome and suspicious, but in fact, all the boxes were ticked. No shortcuts were taken, and it's actually been an amazing process.
I'd like to add to that and just kind of talk a little bit about some of the process that goes into approving a drug. So typically, under normal circumstances, what happens? Someone has an idea to test a drug or test a vaccine, and so they first do what's called a phase 1 study, and they do it in very small numbers of people, and then they do a phase 2 study, and then they do it in larger numbers, and they do in phase 3, and even before then they have all these steps they have to go through. So what happened with the vaccines was we knew that we needed them right away. So rather than have all of these things go, well, you have to try it in animals, you have to try it in this animal, you have to submit this data, they did it all in parallel. And what that did was, instead of at each step having everyone stop and scratch their heads and say, I wonder what we should do, everyone looked at the data very quickly. So really what they ended up doing is they cut out a lot of the bureaucratic processes that slow drug development down. And I suspect that's going to change things in how drugs are developed in America. But I can't overstate what a wonderful technological achievement this is. This is the medical equivalent of going to the moon, okay? And the moonshot worked. How do we know? Because they went and they came back, right? And even when they didn't get there complete with Apollo 13, they came back. This stuff works. How do we know? It got developed. It's been tested in more people than many vaccines that are currently available. And then not only did we give it to millions of people, unlike other vaccines in the past, we have the technology to track toxicities and monitor it. This is one of the most studied vaccines in history. And we know more about this than anything else. And every time even a little bit of a signal comes up that there might be a problem, they're able to pick it up quickly and they'll say, okay, hold on, we're going to put a halt on this vaccine for a couple of weeks till we figure this out. And then they figure it out, and then they add some more caveats so we can use it more safely. So I think we can very confidently say that these are very, very safe vaccines. I've taken them myself. I've given it to my children. I wouldn't do that if I didn't think it was a safe vaccine.
And just to add what you two already commented on, what I like to tell people is, this technology, one reason why it's so fast, it's like going from dial-up internet to like a fiber optic cable.
Right.
Like it's just
right. Yeah.
technology, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
And you really can't understate, the fact that we had the funds, the money, and the
Mhm.
volunteers. And another example
Yep.
I'd like to say, we're all familiar, especially where we live, hurricane damage, fences going down. And if you needed to build that fence and you had $10 in your pocket just yourself, it's going to take a while. But if you had $1,000 and a crew to work with, you're going to get that fence, built in a day. And really, it's the same quality fence, whether you're by yourself, it's just going to take a lot longer. So these trials, we had the people, we had the funds, and that was another reason why they're able to get completed so quickly. But there is no compromise in the science.